Everyone, welcome to this week's episode of the Cross-Chain Insider, a weekly roundup of all news traveling across chains, brought to you by LI.FI, the ultimate metaverse money Lego. I'm Mark, a member of the BizDev team, and much poorer than I was last week. And my GigaBrain co-host is Arjun, the jack of all trades here at LI.FI, the master of everything. He's the thread ore extraordinaire, the research ore of protocols, and, I count him as one of my good friends. So what's up, Arjun?
I am also much poorer than last week, but let's do this.
Let's do this. All right. So let's start with the rundown, the recap, the roundup of what happened in the bridging space this week. Arjun, take it away.
Yeah, let's start with one of our integration partners, Multichain. So Multichain has launched veMulti on the Ethereum mainnet. So veMulti is the governing scheme for multi-DAO, and anyone who stakes the multi token will receive a veMulti NFT. So these NFT holders basically have the power to initiate and vote on governance protocols related to governance proposals related to everything multi-chain. So users can now stake their tokens and receive these NFTs and earn protocol revenue, which is the bridge fees as rewards. So in quarter one of 2022, Multichain accumulated over $3.9 million in bridge fees. So this will now be distributed to all the veMulti holders in the next 9 weeks till July 14th. So I think this is a great opportunity for multi-token holders to earn more by staking their token. It gives more utility to the entire system and the token specifically. Moving on to Optimism. So Optimism has added warp speed as a routing option. Warp speed is a custodial bridge that enables one of the cheap and fast transfer routes to Optimism. And more importantly, it enables users to bridge a small amount of ETH to Optimism. So small deposit amounts accounting for less than 0.5 ETH have now become 5x cheaper and 15x faster. I'm not sure 0.5 ETH is a small amount, but okay, let's move on to Across. So Across is changing to a hub and spoke model in their V2 update. They haven't yet provided more details on the model itself, but right now the point of focus here is that Across needs its liquidity providers to migrate funds from V1 to V2, and this migration will begin on May 23rd. Well, the Medium post says 23rd, but the Twitter thread says 17th. So I think this has been delayed by a week or so. So while this migration happens, users can still bridge with Across V1. So V1 will remain live until the V2 pools have at least 50% of the total liquidity pools. And yeah, I am personally definitely looking forward for the new bridge design in V2. And I know that you are as well, because you wrote the entire deep dive, which will become redundant now, but it's fine.
Yeah, I will also add that if you're one of the first 20% of people to move the liquidity over, you earn 5x the rewards.
Yeah.
So that's your alpha for the week.
Yeah, so the early movers will get rewarded more. So, and yeah, let's wrap this section up with LI.FI. So we had a big week and there were two major announcements. So first, Alps Finance, a cross-chain asset aggregator dashboard, has integrated our SDK. So one of the main features of Alps Finance MVP is their cross-chain DeFi aggregator, that brings together bridges, DEXs, and EVM compatible chains into a single user interface. And this basically reduces the knowledge required to use the DeFi tools. And this is where our SDK comes in. So apps users can now basically enjoy any-to-any swaps across every chain supported by LI.FI with just a single click, right? Without having to ever leave the Alps Finance interface or application. And we're all about creating seamless experiences, like cross-chain experiences, and it's great to see that Alps Finance chose LI.FI as its cross-chain aggregation solution. And moving on to the audits. So the second big news this week was the two audits that we concluded this week. So I think these audits have been going on for like 1 or 2 months, and now the changes have also been implemented, executed, and everything is up and running. So LI.FI smart contracts, they were audited by Code for Arena, and the other one was by Constam. So users can now basically rest assured that LI.FI takes security incredibly seriously, as emphasized by the two audits. And of course, like we're also considering building a framework around this cybersecurity measures going forward. So that will also help enhance our security even further. And of course, like if anyone has questions regarding the audits, they can always jump into our Discord, and that's where the entire team is almost always active because we never sleep. Like no one in crypto sleeps, I think. But yeah, that's it for this week.
Yeah, that's a lot of stuff going on. Shout out to LI.FI for popping off this week. Got the Alps finance, and we have the two audits. And if you're paying close attention, we also just Dataverse, which is a Web3 data curation app, essentially. Just added our widget to their platform. So I mean, it's just LI.FI is everywhere.
I'll be there in the next week's newsletter.
Oh, was that? Did I just ruin a section for next week?
It's fine, I'll still add it.
Okay, okay. Okay, so moving on, that was the bridging portion of the cross-chain insider. We'll now move on into like more of a just the cross-chain outlook over the last week or so. Let's see if I can talk during this section. That would be nice. So first of all, something that I was very, very, very interested to read is that Interchain security is coming to Cosmos. So, by my small brain summary of the Cosmos ecosystem right here, because Cosmos is way too complicated to be summarized in just a short little snippet of a podcast, what Cosmos just launched is that now anyone wanting to run a blockchain using Cosmos technology, the Cosmos SDK, can now launch a chain, and they can essentially use the Cosmos Hub validators to do so. And so you don't have to go out and find your own decentralized set of validators to run your chain. You can just sort of plug and play. So now running a blockchain on Cosmos is going to be as simple as deploying a smart contract, essentially, which is like if you're looking into the future and you're trying to figure out how this blockchain thing is going to work. It's going to work because people aren't going to realize they're even really using blockchains, right? Because it's going to be so simple. And the fact that anyone can go, not anyone, but a technically savvy person can now go launch their own blockchain, not have to worry about finding a validator set. It's really cool. Arjun, you're shaking your head a lot over there. Did I miss something, or are you just excited?
No, I'm excited because like this makes the security of like new chains much better, right? Because the entire market cap of the Atom token is kind of securing them right now. So currently the market cap is 6 billion, but hopefully when the prices are up, this will be much larger, right?
Yeah, and just to add a little bit more flavor to this, previously, blockchains running on like a blockchain, Cosmos-based blockchains had to have their blockchain secured by a staking token. And if it's a proof of stake system, if that staking token isn't worth anything in the beginning, that chain is very insecure, right? Because it doesn't take much to attack the network for like 51% attacks and stuff now. Now you can essentially launch with the full force of these Cosmos-based validator sets and the $6 billion worth of Atom, which is the Cosmos Hub token, backing a new blockchain. So you don't have to worry about security from day one, which is like super, super, super cool. And if you hold Atom, this is great because it finally has a little utility. Anyways, I just talked way too much about this section, but we're moving on into the next portion here, which is, we mentioned this on a previous pod, but now it's finalized. But Gnosis chain is welcoming Uniswap v3, which is pretty cool. As you can tell, the vote was really close. It was 5,029,243 for and 0 against. for the deployment of Uniswap v3 on Gnosis. Gnosis is slept on. It is the home of popes, and everyone uses popes. Even if you don't realize that you've used popes, you probably have a pope to your name. Uh, Moving on, we have BOBA Network. Now there's so much cool stuff happening right now. Like this is a
Yes.
fun podcast. So BOBA, which is an Ethereum L2 solution, okay, it is now allowing you to use the BOBA token as gas instead of Ethereum, which is like we're all about at LI.FI, we're all about abstraction and aggregation, right? We want like the final retail user to never really know what chain they're on, what bridge they're using, what DEX they're using, right? We just want it to be like one click, two click, whatever. You're doing metaverse things. It's great. Boba just took a major step forward, in my opinion, into doing this by allowing you to pay for gas fees in two different types of token on a single network. And I think this is going to probably be the future of a lot of the L2s and a lot of the rollups. I'll be interested to see if the OP token for Optimism goes to this sort of model in the future. But reading Boba's technical documents here, it looks like they kind of had to work pretty hard to make this work. But it's exciting. And this is also really going to help the bridging experience to Boba because now you only have to bridge over a single token rather than having to like worry about gas fees plus Boba. Yeah, do you have anything to add there, Arjun?
I mean, so not only do users have another option, they will also get like a 25% discount on all transactions if they use the BOBA token. So that's, I think, great utility added to the token as well. And I'm sure so this was a vote passed by the community, right? So that's something that the community wants. So it's great to see it in practice now.
That's shocking that a community would vote to use a token.
Yeah.
Anyways, moving on. We have Secret's Shockwave Alpha mainnet upgrade is complete. I dare you to say that 3 times fast. This is essentially going to allow, first of all, it allows Secret Network, I believe the number is 500% to 600, no, 500 to 600x.
Yeah.
So 500 to 600 times what it previous was on speed boosts for certain network events like NFT mints and airdrops, which they say the human brain is bad at scale, right? I can't really even imagine what 500 or 600x is speed wise. Like that just seems like a ridiculous amount of improvement.
That's a totally new user experience, I would say.
100%. And so, by the way, Secret is an IBC enabled blockchain. So it's on Cosmos. And so another part of this upgrade is that they are kind of laying the groundwork for interchain accounts, which will in the future allow for Secret Network is like a privacy focused L1. And it's going to allow for contract calls on Cosmos to utilize the privacy based nature of Secret for certain cross chain interactions. And I just think that's going to be really cool because I think a lot of blockchains are open and public, and that's delightful. But there are going to be certain use cases where you don't necessarily want the whole world to know what you're doing in this certain smart contract, interaction. So the privacy aspect of Secret through this upgrade is cool. Moving on, something that if you had listened to, I think one of our first recordings, we talked about this as being a possibility. And then a couple weeks later, guess what happened? Exactly what we spoke about occurred. This is my first like big brain moment in the history of the world. So I guess I should just retire. I'm just done. Anyways, the price of staked ETH has, I don't want to say really depegged because I don't think that's the technically correct term for this because it's not necessarily pegged, but the price of staked ETH through Lido is now trading at a discount to just the normal ETH price. And I think this is kind of odd timing, just because we just saw a depegging of UST, this huge stablecoin from the dollar. This isn't necessarily the same thing, because staked ETH is a derivative of ETH that allows you to have having staked ETH is having a promise of ETH that is staked to Ethereum 2.0. And when Ethereum 2.0 launches, one staked ETH and one ETH will be redeemable for each other. However, right now, staked ETH is trading at a discount, perhaps because people are worried about Lido being too centralized or too hacked, or for a variety of different reasons to be panicking right now because the market is a little bit wild. Arjun, you're looking at me again like you want to.
I think it's just more panic, right? So people have started to withdraw their funds from Curve and started unstaking their ETH on Lido. So it's like there will be unbalance between the original and the synthetic pair, because people are panicking, people are withdrawing funds, and that's exactly what happened with UST as well. Like, not the initial bit, but after the, I guess, 10% depeg, there was so much panic in the entire uh, ecosystem that people started to withdraw, and that resulted in like more unbalance. And that's something similar that we're seeing right now here.
True, but I do want to point to the distinction that staked ETH is very different. It's a derivative of Ethereum, right? It is not this algorithmically pegged.
Yeah.
Like, there's no algorithm holding staked ETH's price to match ETH's price. It's literally like you have the promise to have that ETH at a later date. So it's different. It's a totally different depegging situation than what we saw with UST. It is just notable that they happened in the same week. I think I read, I'm not even going to talk about that. I thought I read that Lido was going to try to keep the pair trading at a peg there, but I don't know if that's substantiated. So we'll just move on. We won't talk about rumors here on the Cross Chain Insider. The last piece of news, besides me actually getting a DM on Twitter, which you're gonna see in my notifications there, is that Aurora launched a $90 million developer fund to boost DeFi on the Near protocol. So Aurora is an EVM compatible chain on Near, and $90 million is going to boost the DeFi development. When you see these funds, I mean, in my experience, when we see these funds, we usually see developer inflows to that chain, because I mean, that $90 million is right for the taking.
Yep.
So this just means, in my opinion, Aurora, something to watch out for in the near future. You have anything
In the
to add?
near future. Yeah.
In the near future, I didn't even mean to do that. Okay. Next section is, so Arjun here is our chief thread researcher. He's up to speed on the markets, and every once in a while he throws out a thread. Arjun, what have you been threading about this week? What's on your mind? What is poppin' in the crypto industry that you want to talk about?
So I don't think like any of us can look past the bear market kind of events last week. And so there was a kind of a theme flowing around on Twitter, right? Like, everyone was not talking about making money or like taking profits, but everyone was talking about surviving the bear market to actually last till the bull run and just earn money in that sense. So I wrote about how, like, irrespective of who you are and what your role is in the ecosystem, everyone and everything follows the same rules. That is to basically survive the bear market and reap the benefits during the bull. So whether it's like investing as an individual, or like backing new projects as a VC, or bootstrapping a new ecosystem as a chain, everyone's goal is to basically survive. And if we continue building towards the future we envision, where crypto is like mainstream, we will definitely be in a position to reap the benefits. But the point I like kind of wanted to focus on was that if we want to survive, we need to build sustainable systems, right? And this is specifically true for chains and ecosystems, because they host hundreds of applications with like teams building on them, and they have billions of dollars in funds logged on the chain. So it's very crucial that the chain is secure and it is built to last. And because the inability of a chain to like build a sustainable system can have really catastrophic impacts, right? Like we saw with the meltdown of USD and Luna last week, and how it impacted the entire Terra ecosystem, and how basically an entire ecosystem with over 30 billion in assets was wiped out within a few days. So as like builders ourselves with LI.F I, my key takeaway from the entire like last week's events was that while experimenting is very important for unlocking innovation, it must be done with caution, because poorly designed systems will break and the impact will be felt like industry wide, and it will set us back years in development basically. So the point of focus here with respect to bridges was that we're in the nascent stages of development, right? And there are so many hacks already, and in a bear market and with like so much volatility around, things tend to get even worse. And because we're building like such critical infrastructure for the ecosystem, there's also a lot of attention of hackers and attackers on these systems, and they are kind of like honeypots, like prime for attack, I would say, because there's so much liquidity flowing through them. So basically, our goal should be always to build anti-fragile bridges and systems that can resist any type of attacks. And we should take this opportunity to kind of reflect and build for the long term, or we can risk bearing the only breaking the only rule of crypto, which is survival. So if we don't build lasting systems, I don't think we'll survive. That's it.
Yeah. I was laughing at the beginning, not because I found the crash of UST and Luna funny, but because it hurt, and the only way to deal with it is humor, right?
Yeah.
But it was very tough to watch. This was a great reminder for me that I hadn't, I in the bull market, you don't really see this as much, but do your own research. Is a huge, huge, huge thing in this space. I remember, hindsight is 2020, just looking at that 20% anchor yield for a really long time and really trying to understand it and never quite like being convinced that it was a sustainable model. But because everyone else was so bullish on Terra, I was like, gosh, I just must not be getting it. This has to be the future, right? Like if everyone's getting behind it, I see all these VCs investing in it. Doe is out on Twitter just being bullish. They buy Bitcoin, and I'm a Bitcoin maxi. I love it, but it really comes back down to it. Do your own research. If you don't feel good about where yield is coming from, if you don't feel good about the decentralized mechanisms protecting a system, don't use it. Crypto is not a safe place. And sometimes you're best suited just maybe staying on the sidelines, and just quietly stacking whatever blue chips you are interested in.
I
But
mean,
that's my
the sad part is so many of us started considering Luna as a blue chip because we felt that it was too big to fail right now. So that's another reminder that nothing is too big to fail, right? Even though there are like VCs backing projects, it's not a guarantee that it won't fail or break. So yeah, have to do your own research, and there's no one else you can blame at the end of the day because you have to take the L, right?
Yep. And if you can't understand where the yield's coming from, you're probably the yield. Anyways, just to add a couple extra ideas on this, just talking cross-chain implications, the fallout of UST crashing. We saw this kind of ripple across, we'll call it the metaverse, just a little bit. We threaded about this last week. Let me keep scrolling here. So first of all, cross-chain implications. We saw that Luna Foundation Card ended up selling like $2.8 billion worth of Bitcoin OTC. That's a cross-chain event. Like this is a Terra-based organization selling Bitcoin to help restore a peg. Bitcoin price shockingly kind of held up. I think it dipped to 25K at its low. Other cross-chain implications here is that UST was the largest stablecoin on Cosmos by far. Like if you looked at the osmosis like liquidity, you had $80 million in UST, I believe, at its peak last week. And the next biggest stablecoin liquidity pair had like $5 million, which is just not enough to really back a booming ecosystem, because stablecoins are very important for DeFi. Um, Other than that, you had Anchor Protocol was on Avalanche. And as we know, Anchor Protocol was the biggest dApp native to Terra. And people have just been fleeing Anchor like crazy as UST has collapsed. There's almost no TVL left. So we just saw that go over to Anchor, to Avalanche as well. But it was a much smaller protocol in Avalanche, so it wasn't like this terrible thing. And then, sorry, Arjun, I feel like I'm talking a lot. Do you want to talk about Wormhole, or do you want me to talk about Wormhole?
No, go ahead. I mean, this is your thread, right? Go
This
ahead.
is my thread. Can you tell I'm just super excited about it? And then Wormhole, the portal bridge. Check out the outbound volume from Terra this week. I mean, this chart is up only. That is wild. So outbound volume from Terra also led to a bunch of TVL for Wormhole decreasing, which is bad for Wormhole. But it's also really cool that Wormhole like made it out alive, and like it was robust. It was a robust enough system to kind of help some people get out of Terra, which I thought was really cool. And then that's kind of what was in the thread. I'm sure there's like a million different other implications of UST spiraling, but those are just the main things that we talked about. Do you have anything else to add?
So I think we've covered a lot of different angles to the story. So it's good. It's a good point to start with the next one.
Oh, we're going to the next section right now?
Yeah.
Okay, the next section of the podcast, as Arjun hinted, is the content recommendations. Arjun's the big brain here, so I will let him go first. Arjun, what did you read and listen to this week that other people should check out?
So I have a thread recommendation by Bartek, and it's about like it talks about, is your bridge censorship resistant or not. So the thread basically starts by explaining how bridges work, which is like most bridges functions by locking an asset on the source chain and minting a wrapped asset on the destination chain. So a good bridge should never mint a wrapped asset on the destination chain without actually locking the funds on the source chain. And similarly, it should never lock an asset without minting the wrapped asset. There's a lot of similar terms there, so it would be best to read the thread. But yeah, so the second property is where censorship resistance comes in, right? Because you don't want to lock the asset and then have the mint request for wrapped assets be censored. So this particular section requires censorship resistant bridges. And so there are two ways this works. So either the blockchain you're connecting should be censorship resistant, or your bridge itself should be decentralized enough to let the messages pass. So let's say you're connecting to Solana. So recently we saw with Solana and the Candy Machine whole NFT scene that some validators decided to censor some messages. So it is possible that your bridge messages will get censored. But this is different for roll-up bridges like Optimism, Arbitrum, because even if the L2 censors your message, you can always go and submit the message on an L1. But since, however, most bridges are not roll-up native, they rely on the operators relaying messages between chains. And if these operators decide to censor the messages, there is nothing that can be done to avoid it. So Bartek concludes by saying that the good bridges, they should have a cheap and fast path and a slower and more expensive fallbacks in case operators censor messages. So this solution kind of provides best of both worlds and also disincentivizes bridge operators from censoring all the messages. I've said censoring a lot, but like if you read the thread, you'll get the entire picture, and it's a great framework for determining if your bridge is resistant to such attacks or not. So yeah, that's the big brain thread that I found this week. And the other one is a podcast recommendation. So this is a bit technical, but it's a really good one. As Arjun Bhuptani, one of the founders of Connects, he talks about bridge security consideration and the best practices. So it's a very it goes really in detail about the technical aspects of bridges. So if you're like a developer, or like if you're looking at bridges from a security perspective, how to audit them, this is a great place to like learn more, I would say.
Yep, and I watched the full hour of it. Totally great for maybe not a lunch break because you actually kind of need to be paying attention to it. But I'd
Yeah.
say coffee break. This is a great podcast for any dev or someone interested in bridges. So as for my recommended reads, they're kind of like they kind of go together here. These two articles. The first is a summary of Arjun. How does it feel to get your article summarized in a thread? How does it feel? Did you feel proud? You
I
should feel
mean,
proud.
no, it's nice to see that the message was conveyed, right? Like whatever we were trying to say, someone can actually summarize it within like 10 or 12 tweets. So that's great to see an entire 3,000 word article being summarized in such a short thread.
Yep. And so we've kind of talked about this article before, but a couple weeks ago, Arjun published something about trust in bridges. And it's called Trust is a Spectrum, where in bridges you have external validators and federations being the most trusted bridge mechanisms. Then you have optimistic bridges, liquidity networks, and then light clients and relays being the most trustless, meaning there are no more trust assumptions added to the systems. So in my small brain, I think about this. I think about it like this: like external validators and federations. Like those are just like bridges that act like banks, right? You send money to the bank and you trust that that bank is going to do the right thing and move the asset from chain A to chain B. Great, it's delightful. And then essentially you get to light clients and relays, and you essentially have blockchains natively communicating with each other and reading each other's blocks. And it's just like doing a transaction on a blockchain, except you're going cross chain. And so that's like the whole trust as a spectrum in like 30 seconds. Arjun's smiling because I finally explained something in a succinct way that sort of makes sense, or because I'm totally wrong. Which one is
Oh, it's the first one. It's
it? So, anyways, to go along with this Trust as a Spectrum article, QuantStamp gave the dark side of DeFi, cross-chain bridge hacks, and it laid out the different ways that you can attack bridges. And if you go read Arjun's article, you can read about, oh, these are the types of bridges, and then QuantStamp goes ahead and it's like, okay, here's how you go break these types of bridges. And so there are 4 different ways that you can go take down cross-chain bridges right now. There's custodians that you can attack, communicators, debt issuers, and interfaces. Go read the article. You will get so much smarter. And like, just if you're going to be doing cross-chain interactions, you need to know what you're signing up for, because this is bleeding edge tech. So check out this QuantStamp article, and definitely go give Arjun's Trust as a Spectrum article a read. Arjun,
I mean,
we're running out of time
the,
here.
these two articles are great placed together because like you can see the bridges attack surfaces and then connect it to like what type of bridge it is and what like kind of attacks it's exposed to. So like the two really go well together.
Yep. Okay. And then the last part of the pod, Arjun, we got about 4 minutes left here. What is on your cross-chain mind? What are you thinking about?
I mean, I'm just kind of thinking about all these like building sustainable bridges, right? Like the recommended reads are also talking about the same thing. The what's popping section also talks about the same thing. So I'm kind of sensing a theme here, and I think that's exactly what's on my mind. Like, how do you make this stuff sustainable so that we're here for the long term? Like we're here building bridges, using them in the next 5 years and not just the next 5 minutes. What about you?
So of course I was just showing a meme off because bear market. I like a good XRP joke every once in a while.
I'm the XIP joke.
Yep. And then I also had this section, this meme, just because I like the XRP joke, but also I own a JPEG. Um, I've just been thinking about cross-chain NFTs because I don't have much of a life, and I'm gonna be totally honest. I'm a little bit bearish on cross-chain NFT use cases because like why are you going to need to move? Like the whole point of an NFT is that it's native to the chain that you mint it to, and like that's like the cool thing, right? And I'm not really sure why you're going to want to move these NFTs over until there's like a really cool game that allows you to sell that NFT on other marketplaces. But I'm just not really, I don't really conceptualize the need for cross-chain NFTs yet. I don't think there's a killer use case out there.
I mean,
Um,
like when you say cross-chain NFTs, it can mean two different things, right? Like when you said it, my mind went to ghostly ghosts, which were like multi-chain NFTs. So it'll be interesting to see like which use case is actually better, right? Like, do we take the DeFi kingdoms route, which you have to take for like existing NFT collections, but then there's this another side of things where NFT projects are launching across all these chains. So definitely an interesting topic to dig deeper in the future.
Look, I'm totally interested in how we're gonna make cross-chain NFTs work, right? Because there's no like liquidity networks that are gonna be you can really use for NFTs because like
You have to use like generalized message passing
yeah,
with
it's
it.
gonna be message passing. And then it's like if you're message passing an NFT, what's the real point? But I think I need to do more research. This is just my first take at cross-chain NFTs. I'll come back maybe next week and I'll have like some positive things to say because I do know that Philip and Max, our CEO, CTO, are pretty bullish on cross-chain NFTs, and I don't want to get fired. So I need to go do my research.
Yeah.
All right, and with that, I think that's it. Do you have anything else to add?
Nope. Let's wrap it up.
We're wrapping it up. And that is the latest episode of the Cross-Chain Insider. For more info, be sure to subscribe to the Cross-Chain Insider, which Arjun publishes as just a basic newsletter on Medium. You should also check out LI.FI. We're building the ultimate cross-chain money Lego. So go to LI.FI or go to at LI.FI protocol on Twitter and hop in our Discord. We're a good hang. Thank you for watching.